Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode. Today we have the pleasure of having none other than Irene. Irene is a brand marketing, strategic communications and business development specialist that is very passionate about and working with people. With a career spanning over a decade, she has held various roles within the NGO and social enterprise sector before becoming a co-founder of Red Plan Consultants. Whether working with entrepreneurs, SMEs or NGOs, she strongly advocates for and believes in the development of human-centric systems and most importantly, in supporting the creation of socially conscious and ethical brands that dare to challenge the status quo. Irene, welcome to the show.
Wow, Steve, such a brilliant introduction. Thank you for having me.
What a pleasure to have Irene with us today. So Irene, tell us what drives you work-wise?
I'm really driven by empowerment of people. You know, whether working with individuals like you just read out in my bio, I really want to see people win. I want them to be 100% whoever they choose to be and just excel at that. And I want to support that dream.
Business and women, if you look at statistics, unfortunately, we still have a very small number of women that are in leadership roles. And when it comes to earning power, automatically most women will always earn less than the male-dominated, in male-dominated fields. How do you think your organization can change that?
Yeah, I really feel like there's a multifaceted approach when you think about that, when you think about the difference between the parity between men and women and how they earn, as well as the opportunities that are available. I had a conversation a couple of months ago with a certain radio stations and we were talking about the same topic. And I was saying that it's really difficult you've had this line being peddled around and a lot of people say it, you know, if you're not invited to the table, bring your own chair. And I totally agree with that. But I also see that there's an opportunity for men to be collaborators, to provide more than just a chair or space on the platform, but also allow women the voice to speak. Because there's one thing to be invited to a table, but it's also another to have a voice. But other than men being collaborators and allies for women to get where they need to be empowered, you know, I believe that it starts with individuals, it starts with women as well. It starts with self-efficacy, where you speak out for yourself. Be so confident in the value that you bring to the table, whether you're in a boardroom, wherever you are, and allow yourself the opportunity. I think women always feel like, oh, if I say this, because you know, when you raise your hand too many times, people say, oh, you're too much, you're too loud, you're too this. And if you don't, on the contrast, they say, well, she never has anything to say. So it's about finding that balance as a woman. So there's a lot of organizations out there that are changing the narrative. The organization I currently work for looks at how to capacitate women in business. So it's about women having the same starting, if you want to call it, platform as men. So we all struggle to raise money or capital. So how can we provide women with the opportunity to access funding more easily? So that's what we try and do. When we look at the challenges that women go through, especially when you look at how women are always multitasking between households, especially during COVID, we look at how can we make the learning and the skills that we provide accessible to women. So can they access our learning online on an app, mobile app, while they're waiting for the children? So those are some of the tangible ways that we're trying to support women.
Do you believe that women have a very specified role in the corporate South Africa?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's a sector that's developing, that's always growing. So a couple of years ago, if you asked me that question, I would have said, yes, women are boxed to certain positions and it's very hard to grow up the ladder because of so many challenges. And you know, you're viewed as, oh, you're still in your prime, you'll probably get pregnant at some point and you'll have to take time off. You know, there's companies that thought about things that way. But I believe the narrative is slowly changing. I mean, look at the execs, and most people are moving towards it, where recently I was reading a certain company that has 50% of women in their top executive positions. So I feel like it's changing, though slowly, but I believe it's getting there.
Women, do you think, and this, I'll ask you this and then I will ask you this later based on what your response is. Do you think that we have to be fighting for woman equality? Are women equal to men? And if they are, Are they equal but different? Are there specific roles that women can be better than men, and rather than us being in a position where we're fighting for the same thing, but we're better equipped to serve in other areas?
That's a really interesting question. So I believe that women can be anything that they want to be, and they can excel at anything. I think the difference in my response is really how women have their own, we are nurturers. We are so many things that make us who we are. And at times there's been a narrative where we need to play out of our strengths in order to compete with men. I don't see it that way. I had a conversation with a certain woman who has built an empire in Kenya, for instance. She's amazing, and she's done it by owning her femininity. So it's not necessarily competing with Steve and what Steve can do. Women can be analytical, but women can also be naturals. Women have intuition. It's using those innate aspects of who we are as women to get ahead. It's not necessarily competing with what a man can do, but it's using what you have as a woman. So still keep who you are as a woman, your femininity, what makes you you, and still articulate yourself. So I don't really think there's a sector where a woman can be part of, but I think when she is wherever she's at, whether she's sitting next to a Steve who owns a gym and she's a gym owner as well, it's using what becomes what we've been given, God-given, innate nurturing ability, compassion, because we know women are more, accustomed to thinking about other people besides themselves. When they sit at a table, they're thinking about, okay, so we've set out a certain policy. How does it affect the woman or the men that work in this company? How does it affect their children? So that's what a woman has capability to do. And I see that as a way that complements what a man brings to the table rather than competing. I believe all humans are equal based on I think we all know the Bill of Rights, we're all equal. But when it comes to equity and how we play that out, it really is about using what you have as your God-given abilities as a woman to be sassy, to be loud, if that's what you choose to be, whatever you choose to be, but use that and be authentic at it.
We have a culture of feminist.
Mm-hmm.
And right now you're talking to an 18, 21-year-old girl that is both very much into that. And I just need us to bring some kind of clarity when it comes to that. There are things that I know as a man I cannot do.
Yeah.
I cannot give birth.
Yeah.
That's a God-given role to a woman.
Yeah.
I cannot nurture a child using my chest as a breast.
Yes.
And also, if we have to go back from a spiritual point of view, if we have to quote the Quran, we have to quote the Bible, we have to quote the Torah, you'll find here, now this is using the scripture analogy. You don't have to buy it. But the thing here is the books tell you that man was created first. But being created first does not mean that man is more important than woman. We're talking from a priority point of view. Now, if we have to look at that, looking at God's words from a creation point of view, don't you think there are specific positions in a corporate that are purely geared towards a man's strength, and those that are purely geared towards a woman's strength that have to be separated, not from any point of us trying to compete to say that men are better than women or women are there. It's where do you serve best, based on the gifts that you've been given.
Yeah.
So if we look at that and we look at the corporate world, I still think there are some things that women cannot do. If we have to place her in a position where it's easy for her to excel herself rather than trying to be like somebody else. Eve will never be Adam.
Yeah.
The role that Adam was given in the scriptures is totally very different from Eve. So that young girl sitting there, for her not to get confused and start fighting her boyfriend or her future husband about what the specific roles are even in the house, what is your advice to her?
Wow, I feel like my answer will be controversial either way.
It's okay, it's okay.
I think that I totally disagree on women and men having certain positions. I feel like where we are in 2021, women are coders, women are, everything that you ever thought, imagined. Women are driving, drones. I was recently speaking at an organization organized by women, and they were talking about drones and how to get, and they're really doing drones with young girls. So all I'm trying to get at is the fact that a woman can do anything that she chooses to do. So I want to remove the box of, you know, you have to play in whatever. I feel like you have to play in a specific field. I feel like you can really extend yourself to explore whatever you want. I remember sitting in my philosophy class, and my lecturer used this example. She said that, you know, as girls, we are given dolls to play with. So already you're geared, and you're already being, you know, modeled into a future mom, a wife, and all that stuff. And boys are given, you're more, you know, the toys that they need to break and make, and that stimulates their mind. So when they grow up, you see the kind of careers they pick, where they go into IT, they go into different spaces, engineering, while women are just sort of engineered or geared into one direction, where they're not really exploring other things other than being prepared to be nurturers, mothers, whatever. So what happens is, when they come in a home situation where they have to be with this person, they're already ready to be mothers, and they've already been prepared for that. But boys have not had the same opportunity. So there's always that, how do I fit into this role of a dad now, when my parents didn't even take me through that? Okay, so now let's get into a corporate environment. I believe that, I don't know if I've made this I don't know how to make it any more clearer. I believe that women can, and anybody should, of course, be authentic at what they do. So just because you can do X, Y, Z, because I don't even know what it would be. I don't even know what the disqualifier would be, because I feel I can't even think of one specific industry that would be more geared towards men or women. What I'm trying to say is, I think things have changed so much from where, in creation, I totally believe in the Bible, and I believe in what you just spoke about. But at the same time, I feel like things have changed so much where women are earning more than men. You know, that has really just flipped everything, our understanding of how family should be. And also with that in mind, if you're talking to, you know, a young girl who's 18 and she's thinking about getting married and all that stuff, and, you know, a career as well, I think we are also needing to see more accountability from men. We need to see more empowered men as well. By empowered, I mean, if a man is not in his full power, that means he's not able to provide for his wife. He's still not sure where he is. He's not sure about his career. He doesn't have a sense of direction. That's what flips the whole family dynamic upside down, because a woman has to step up and show direction. So I believe if men were authentically living the way they are purposed to live in the Bible, to be leaders as Adam was intended to be, then we would see a woman who is not just, I don't like the word submissive, but a woman who is in synergy or supportive or a partner to the man. Because there's no woman, I would never tell any woman to attach themselves to a man without a vision. I think that's what's missing.
100%. I totally agree with what she's saying here. I mean, I think we're living in an age and era where we're competing rather than complementing each other.
Yeah.
A woman is not a man's enemy. She's there to complement a man, and a man is there to complement her. So, as Irene says there, feminism does not necessarily mean that a man has to be taken out of the job that he's been trained for all his life. So let's bring this into the modern society now. We're talking about #men are trash. That's become one of the most controversial hashtags that I think here, where we've got GBV. All these things that we're going through, and this is 16 days, I think, of activism. What is your take on that? What do you think is the root cause?
I think it really comes down to, and forgive me for going religious route for a minute. There's something that my pastor keeps saying every Sunday around, you know, the major issue around this. I feel like it's just the family dynamics that have broken down. Values are not instilled at home, and then we're expecting a society to hold somebody who's never been held accountable at home. So by that I mean, you know, growing up, my dad would say, this is a rule, these are the rules of this house, we abide by this. So every time I broke a rule in our family, he would say, well, you know what you did, this is not what we do in our family, we don't believe in this. And I feel like that's where it starts. It is how we're raising our boys. You know, are we raising them to see women as their sisters, women as people who need to be protected, or are we just really just leaving the world to raise them? there's a phrase in Swahili that we say, asiyefunzwa na mamake hufunzwa na dunia, which loosely translated means if you're not taught at home by your mom, then the world will teach you. And I feel like we have somehow, because of whatever pressures, whether it's economical or just a social, I would just call it the socio-economical challenges that people are facing, we've somewhat given that responsibility of raising our children to whoever, the society. And I think that's where the breakdown is. There's a lot of men who still misunderstand the placing of a woman. The fact that you would have somebody who could be your sister, your mom, for me tells me there's something missing, there's something broken in you, and it does not excuse that kind of behavior. But I'm saying it really starts in the family. If we can really look at how we raise children, and even choosing not to have children if we feel we're not ready for that kind of responsibility. I think a lot of us rush into it and realize, well, you can be a mom, but it takes a lot to be a parent, to raise somebody. I think that's where it starts. And of course, the hashtag itself is not, I don't believe it's the argument that we're having today is about whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether I support it, whether people should support it. I feel like what it does is it sheds a light on society and tells society there's something wrong. There's something wrong with the men that we're raising. We need to look at the boys that we're raising. How are we raising them? What values? How are we teaching them to be better men?
You've heard it. As Irene says, GBV, us bashing our women, we can try and go out there and say how much men are trash, but at the end of the day, we are attacking the symptoms and not the cause. The cause here is that the foundation is weak. And we brought up thinking that the man is the head of the family, but the truth of the matter is that man is at the bottom of the family. Man is the foundation. Irrespective of how beautiful the walls are and how steady and sturdy the roofing is, if the foundation is weak, that building will collapse. And it's impossible for us to fix our men until we start teaching our boys. It's easier to teach a boy than fix a broken man. So Irene said it there. So we have to focus on what our value system is. Our family becomes the single smallest first unit that we have to invest in, because a good family will create a good community. A good community will create a good country, a good world, and of course it will create good human beings. Irene, just while we're in this, just before we wrap up, the relationship between black men is horrible in this country. But nothing is much worse than the relationship between black women themselves. Mm-hmm. What is the cause?
Wow, I feel like we are brought up to see each other's competition. I really see that as a root cause. I see women who have been brought up to think if, Tash, for instance, is succeeding, it means that she's succeeding at Irene's expense. And I really think that women need to remember that the pool is quite big. There really is. I know we hear that there's so very few opportunities, but let me tell you, if there's anything that's worked for me, it really has been women. I've always believed that, and I make it a principle of mine to be a connector. I really see somebody who needs something and I'll connect it to somebody else. And people have done that to me. Women have done that to me. And I sit back and I reflect and I see, there's women out there who've realized for us to get where we need to be, we have to see each other as sisters. We need to see each other and the betterment of each other as we're all winning. And I know that's going to take a while for us to stop seeing each other's competition and really just loving each other from a humanistic point of view. I think we really try and color a lot of things in our world today, but if we really care about each other, if we really deeply care about your neighbor, then you wouldn't want anything ill of them. You wouldn't be competing for, I can't even think, a husband, a boy. I can't think of what you'd be competing for, because those people, whatever is yours, will never miss you.
Guys, I need you to give these ladies out there advice. We have a community and a society in South Africa where, if you look at statistics from Home Affairs, 65% of the names on our boys' birth certificates don't have a father's name on it. 85% of our school teachers are women. 85% of most church congregants are women. What that basically means is that we have girls that are lacking a father's touch, which is the man in their life. And we have boys that are finding it very hard to become men because it's so hard to be what you've never seen. So I want you to help that woman out there. Through your eyes, what are the qualities that you look for in a man before you go out with him?
Oh, wow. Steve had to put me on the spot. I really am attracted to somebody with a vision and has a plan to get to it. So I will not attach myself to somebody without a vision. They need to be wanting to get somewhere and have a plan to get there. Because there's people who will have a vision, but they'll never really articulate it. They'll always tell you, in 5 years I see myself here, but they don't have a plan to get there. And then I look at somebody's values. Do they align to mine? I believe in God. This is how I would like to raise children if I had them. This is what really matters to me. Honesty is important. Are those things something that, click in that man? Do we actually share that? And of course, I really believe in, as a woman, and I don't want to be taken out of context, I really believe that a man is supposed to be a provider, but a woman also has a place. So remember I talked about partnership. So this partnership, you also want to see that this is somebody who has the ability to provide for themselves and has potential to provide for your future family. But of course, you will have a place in that giving, in that financial aspect as well.
Irene was talking to the girls, and I will talk to you as a man. What do you have to do for you to be the kind of person that you attract, the kind of woman that you want? It's impossible, brother, son, friend, uncle, whoever you out there. You can't expect to have a queen until you build a kingdom for her. And as men, one of the things that we have to understand here is a man without a purpose becomes a predator. First and foremost, you have to seek what your purpose is in life first. So the two questions that I want you to ask yourself before we wrap up today: where am I going? And who's coming with me? But if you get those two questions wrong, it will mess up your life. Good to have you, and catch you next time. God bless, and see you soon.
Goodbye. Thanks for having me, Steve.